Right now on First Take, Ryan Hollins is being asked, should we pump the brakes on Kawhi hype?
Why?
Right now. Why are we asking Ryan Hollins? I don't know.
But why are we pumping the brakes? I mean,
Have the guts to say Max Kellerman's name.
So Bruce Arthur's going to join us. He's with the Toronto Star.
I want to press on the gas.
Yes,
How about
that's
that?
right. All right, Bruce, should we pump the brakes or press on the gas as it regards Kawhi Leonard hype?
Stu Gotts from LeBatard. I'll say this. I've seen a lot of players play in the NBA, and during the regular season, you could not make an argument that Kawhi Leonard was even one of the 2 or 3 best players in the world. And the playoffs, man, I've seen some things. Like, the people on this team, like assistant coaches and executives, are in awe of this guy. Other players are in awe of this guy. They've never seen anything like him. I'm not sure we ever have.
They were done after 4 games ago. They were done, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell happened?
Well, okay, so you can go back further. Like against Philadelphia, Game 4 in Philadelphia, they could have been done then. They go down 3-1 against the Sixers, and you're probably dead. And Kawhi hits the pull-up 3 over Joel Embiid, and then in Game 7, you lose that game, and you're definitely dead. And he hits the 4-bounce pull-up jumper over Embiid from the corner. And then against Milwaukee in Game 3, yeah, if you lose that, you're dead. And Kyle Lowry fouls out, and they got to go to double overtime. And
Andy's hurt. Andy's played 50 minutes.
Yeah, he took turns limping on the left leg, then the right leg in that game. And then Game 4, they needed to do it one more time. And it just he has authored more moments where you say, I remember where I was, if you're a Raptors fan, more moments in the last month and a half than the franchise had probably culminated in the previous 23 years.
Guys, it sounds like Bruce Arthur is pressing the gas.
He pressed the gas! He pressed the gas! Eat it, Ryan Hollins! No brakes pumped here! Look out! Pressing the gas! All right, hold on a second. Whoa, I'm lightheaded. Bruce Arthur, what is Canada doing right now? Because the streets were filled with people making a whole lot of noise.
Now, there are 2 different things here. Toronto is very separate from Canada. Toronto's got, like 7 million people in the general area, and it's very separate from the rest of the country. 20% of the GDP comes through Toronto. Everyone else in the country hates Toronto. That's how it works. And unless you win a title, Toronto teams don't get watched nationally. So the Toronto Blue Jays are a national team. They've won 2 titles. They've been around since the 70s. That's a real thing. Well, basketball in this country has been a long, slow march, right? It's a small tribe and a hockey monoculture. And what people are doing in Canada right now is they're watching the Raptors. The number they had for Game 6 was 3.1 million. I believe they'd never gone above 2.5 million before. Now, this is a country of about 36 million. So that's like 10% of the country, nearly 10% of the country is watching the game. I have people in my life who don't care about basketball texting me all the time about the Raptors. And this is how fan bases get built, right? Because think about the Raptors' history. Let's go back 1 year, Dan, and I'm going to quote you specifically because it's a great line, and I've used it in columns since then. When LeBron hits all those turnaround jumpers in Game 2, where he's inventing shots to make the Raptors look like idiots, right? And you said, this looks like so much fun for everybody except the Raptors. Like, this team has been a punchline for 23 years. And then all of a sudden, like, if you're a fan, you've been sitting through players leaving, and even when your team gets good, you're a joke. And then finally you get rewarded. And so that's what it was Game 6 on Saturday night. They got to let everything out. It's like a wedding where you get to tell people what you really think of them, how much you love them. It was like that. And so in Canada right now, like, this is how a team becomes a national thing because the Raptors, for pretty much their whole existence, haven't been.
Guys, he is still pressing the gas.
Yes! Hey, look out, everybody! Yes! Tell us more, Bruce, about Canada and this disconnect. Is this all Kawhi's doing? Is it that there was more hope this season because you swapped out the most popular Raptor player ever, DeRozan, and 2 playoff performers that everyone was doubting for a guy who gave you hope?
Well, I mean, he's just that good, right? Like, think about this team. They barely practiced this year. Kawhi missed 22 games. Kyle missed 17 games. And I had someone close to the team tell me the other day, these guys won 58 games on film. Like, it was just a different experience to watch, I think, for Raptors fans because these guys are good. And Kawhi is so good. So And the thing with Canada and Toronto is one of the most ethnically diverse cities in the world, right? About 50% of our population comes from somewhere else and speaks a different language as their first language. The rest of Canada doesn't entirely look like that, and very few places do. And so, like, I grew up in Vancouver. I was taught to hate the city because it thinks it's so great. It's bigger than everyone else. It's richer than everybody else. It's its own self-contained center of the universe. And so what Kawhi's done is he just gives you – it is a slow build. It's not like it all happens at once because the Raptors had built over years with a lot of different things. Like having Kyle and DeMar here helped this franchise. It built it up further than it had gone. It wasn't like all of a sudden you go from 0 to 100. But Kawhi, like having a superstar, you guys know in Miami, everybody knows who watches the NBA, superstars change your life, right? They can absolutely change everything about your franchise. And that's what Kawhi is. He's the first genuine 100% rock-solid superstar this franchise has had. And we don't know if he's going to stay. No one knows if he's going to leave or not definitely right now. And if he leaves, this will be the first – my guess would be this will be the first time in Raptors history where a star leaves to go somewhere else and Raptors fans wouldn't even be that mad.
Really? Bruce Arthur with us, Toronto Star.
That's interesting. You're telling me, so Toronto, win or lose this NBA championship, fans aren't going to be upset if Kawhi leaves after the season?
To me, I would look at it like this. He hasn't said, I'm going to stay. Right. He hasn't said, I want to be here. He hasn't said, I don't want to be here. What he said is, I'm going to give you everything I got. And he has. Like, you can't really ask for much more than give me 30 points a night and guard Giannis Antetokounmpo and, like, carry this team through 3 rounds of playoffs, even though you're limping on one leg, then limping on the other. Like, you can't really ask for any more of this. And if you talk to Raptors behind the scenes, they talk about, like, leadership is something we overrate a lot in sports, but these guys are following Kawhi Leonard. The reason this team doesn't panic is not because of Kyle Lowry. It's because Kawhi Leonard literally tells them, guys, don't panic. It'll be fine. Like, they play like the game is long. They don't worry about going down in games. They were down double figures in the last 2 games of the Milwaukee series. And he has an absolute hold over this team. But he's never pretended to be anything other than a guy who's here for a year. And if he decides to stay, then he decides to stay. And if he goes, it'll be because he wants to go live in California where he's from. How much can you really get mad at that?
Let's say Toronto wins the title. Let's say that Toronto pulls off one of the biggest upsets we've seen in the NBA Finals. What do you think, Bruce Arthur, Toronto Star, happens with Kawhi and happens with basketball in Canada? Not basketball in Toronto, basketball in Canada if he pulls off the upset.
The thing about, let's say they do win a title, I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows whether that matters to him in terms of his future, because I think it would probably tell Kawhi Leonard that he can win with anybody, right? Like, he can go to the L.A. Clippers and maybe, I don't know, Jimmy Butler goes there with him or somebody, and they go ahead and win in a place where he can walk around outside every day. There's no indication through all of these moments. Like, he was legitimately emotional in the trophy presentation after Game 6. You could hear it in his voice. It's the first time I've ever seen it from him. But I don't know if that is separate or together with how he feels about Toronto as a workplace, right? Like, I honestly think that this guy walked away from how many millions to walk away from San Antonio? I think he wants what he wants, and none of us know exactly 100% what he wants. All of this can't hurt, but it doesn't necessarily help. In terms of basketball in Canada, okay, let's say he leaves. Pascal Siakam's your new max guy. They start to rebuild again, but they're still a pretty good team. I think basketball goes up a notch. I think basketball becomes something that people across the country watch. Just more people watch, and more people care about, more people play.
Bruce, are you pumping the brakes?
It sounded like he pumped the brakes. It did sound like he pumped the brakes. It did. He did.
Why?
Bruce, do you want to get out of here on something that feels a little more gassy?
I will say this. The Golden State Warriors are the Golden State Warriors. Like, these guys are the champs. They're great. It's exactly what Steve Kerr said. They're effing giants. I think the Raptors could win the series. I think their defense is at a level.
He's pressing the gas! He's pressing the gas! He's back on the gas!
Yes! Yeah!
There you go.
Thank you, Bruce. We appreciate it.
I had coffee with my colleague half an hour ago.
We got 2 men and a woman down in the studio. So, Mike Ryan is spinning. His head hurts. Roy is stoic.
Yep.